Well, we're here at spring training, Greg Brown, Michael McHenry, and some people say that Hold My Cutter is nothing to crow about. Well, we think otherwise. We think this is a really cool show coming up with Bob Walk.
Yeah, it's outstanding. You get to know Bob Walk in a completely different way. I really enjoyed it. I think you're going to absolutely love it.
And by the way, his nickname, Whirly Bird. Of Hold My Cutter here with our special guest Bob Walk, Michael McHenry on hand here at the Burn by Rocky Patel. As always, want to thank the general manager Jim Fisher, assistant GM Ken Stout, and our events coordinator Melissa Ward. Leonard handling the controls here with us. Bob, we talked in a previous episode. By the way, nice outfit you have.
Yeah, the previous episode, I had a great time. So I decided to wear the same shirt again, yeah. And
it's
it
your
was
good
a
luck
good
shirt.
Because you guys
You look good in it.
Yeah, another cup of coffee. Yeah, it's good coffee, too. It's really good coffee.
Hey, you know what it is? It's that
Consistent we
full
are.
circle we talked about.
We're very consistent.
We talked last time with Bob about going full circle and still enjoying the featured smoke, the LB1 medium-bodied roll, mix of two Nicaraguan fillers, Canega, and the Esteli, I believe it is, the Ecuadorian Habana wrapper, little red pepper notes, some chocolate notes, and a little creamy finish to it as well.
Did you pick this, or did someone suggest it?
It was suggested. I said, let's go with it.
No, he's working on rolling his own. He's been,
Brownie.
Yeah, he's growing his own
give it a
tobacco.
shot.
He's trying to roll it.
Brownie's
I don't know
been
if you just saw that. He did that completely from memory.
He's been rolling his own since he was 19.
That's exactly right.
Not true. That's factually incorrect. Hey, we talked about a lot of your career and something that happened. We talked off mic, off camera, about the 1984 season, and toward the end of July, you start to feel something in your elbow. Can you?
Yeah, I mean, I've now gone to Hawaii.
Yeah.
And I've
AAA,
pitched very
Hawaii
well
Islanders.
in Hawaii. But for the first time since I was at College of the Canyons, I'm having what they call nowadays
Wait, no.
forearm
In the
stiffness.
beer league, not College at the Canyons. You
Well,
were,
yeah.
You're out of there.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, my elbow
Men's
was barking. But see, how old am I now? I'm probably 23 and 80, so now I'm, I don't know, 27. Trying to get back to the big leagues. My lips are like this when it comes to like, oh, I'm not feeling this, I'm not feeling that. I ain't telling anybody anything. So I'm eating a lot of Ascriptin, and
What was the choice back in the day?
I can't remember now. It came in little tiny bottles. It's like it's over the counter thing now. But I can't remember the name of it back then. And I was eating those all the time.
Yeah.
And it was helping. I was fine. But anyway, to get to your question,
Yeah.
my first game as a Pittsburgh Pirate after being called up was against the Dodgers, and around the 7th or 8th inning,
Mind you, he said 7th or 8th inning.
my elbow is starting to bother me a little bit. But again, I'm not going to tell anybody. And I thought about it in the 8th. I was sitting down there at the far end of the dugout. I can remember actually kind of just going like this, just kind of massaging it a little bit and looking down and seeing Chuck there. And I go, no, I can't
Chuck
do this.
Tanner.
I can't, yeah. I got one more inning. I'll get through this inning, and then 5 days later, I'll be fine. It's been sore before down in Hawaii, but it always
Got through it.
got
And this
through it.
Could you tell the
ibuprofen you're
difference?
using.
Naproxen was the name of that
Naproxen.
stuff. Yeah, nowadays
And-
it's just like.
Could you tell the
over-the-counter.
difference of sore to it actually hurting?
I could a
At that
couple
point.
hitters later.
Fair enough.
I went back out there and
You're pitching for the Pirates.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the first hitter, might have been the second hitter. I can't remember, but Socia was
Mike Sosha,
left-handed hitter.
Dodgers.
I tried to kind of turn over a fastball a little bit, try to get the run down and away from him, and I felt my elbow pop.
You felt it pop.
and
Felt
that
it pop.
and then
Which
that
you
was,
hear about
and
guys that need
was
Tommy
it.
John surgery. That's what they feel.
So they come out.
Ligament torn.
I say, I don't know. I think I felt something in my elbow. They go, well, you want to throw one to see what's going on? So I went to throw one, and it went about 15 feet over the catcher's head.
You had no feel, did
Yeah.
you?
It was just like, as soon as it got right about here, it was like, and I just had to let go of the ball. So,
Jeez.
That's the worst feeling, by the way, when you're catching and you see that happen. You know, like
but here's another thing that like doesn't happen, I think, anymore. Here I am. I can't throw the ball from the mound to the catcher. I talk him into letting me start 5 days later.
that's outstanding, though.
It's unbelievable.
I go out
Once
there.
again, negotiating.
Yeah,
I go out
that's
there-
right. The great
once again,
negotiator.
I go out there. I pitch 2 innings against the Padres,
And
throwing the ball about maybe 80 miles an hour. Maybe. I don't
getting
know.
outs, though,
Sidearm curveballs. I'm like,
Jeez.
it's crazy.
it
And
had
it's
to
hurting.
hurt.
It's
I
still
actually-
hurting bad.
I actually struck out Steve Garvey. And that's one other thing about. But I also gave up a couple of runs in those first 2 innings. So now I'm sitting there, and it's the bottom of the second, and it's obvious that I am hurting bad.
Are they saying anything to you at this
Nobody's
point?
saying a word.
And-
I was
Well,
like, Bob,
the
You
only-
dropped down some,
the
though,
only,
right?
yeah.
So,
The-
but you were getting weird.
The only person that said anything to me, Milt May was the backup catcher then.
Huh.
And Milt warmed me up in the bullpen. We didn't have bullpen catchers then. It was a backup catcher, always did that. And it was about halfway through or something, or 3/4. I'm about ready to go. And he goes, are you sure you want to do this? And I'm like, yeah, I got to do it. So I went out there. So then now it's 2-0. We get a couple of guys on. My spot comes up in the bottom of the second. And I went down to Chuck. I said, Chuck, I think it's obvious to everybody that I can't pitch. And
Except to you, Chuck.
I go,
Yeah.
well, no, I was, no.
No, I loved you.
But there's 2 guys
No,
on.
no radar guns to show
Yeah,
that he's throwing 80.
There's 2 guys on. No, it was eye test. You could see.
It had a little hump to it.
There's 2 guys on base. I said, this is a chance that you guys can undo the damage I did to start this game. And so he said, he goes, all right. He goes, I just wanted it to be your choice. And I said,
Wow.
yeah. I go, I'm done. So he let Rick Roden
Ah.
went up to pinch hit for me, who was an excellent hitter.
Yeah.
And he used him a lot early in games. And so that was the end of my 1984 season. I never touched a baseball again until next spring training.
So back then, the team orthodontic.
Yeah, Jack Fraley, we had a little
Jack Taylor.
talk, and I was going to get an injection. That was a big thing back then. You get a cortisone shot. So I'm in his, not in his office, but in a room out at Passivant. And he comes in, and the nurse brings in this tray, and it's got needles that are like 4 feet long.
Oh,
and it's like,
jeez.
oh, gosh, this is not going to be good. And
In that little space, too.
I'm looking at those
Oh.
needles, and then Jack comes in. He has a little talk with me, and he goes, you're not pitching anymore this year. You're done. So really, he goes, I don't think we should even mess with the cortisone or any of that. Don't shoot you up. He goes, why don't we just try and let this heal on its own, naturally? And then he goes, by next spring training, he goes, I think you'll be fine. And I'm looking at that needle, and I'm saying, yeah, that's a good idea.
Have you had a cortisone shot?
I have, but I've never looked at the needle.
I almost passed out when they pulled it on my
As soon
back.
as,
the
soon as
first
they
time.
go to a needle,
Ooh.
I close my eyes, man. I don't want to see
I
it.
didn't know this then, but I ended up having like 4 or 5 of them in my career. So yeah, it's like it's no fun. Yeah, I always wonder like how do they get that needle in like 6
Where
inches
does
into
it
your
go?
like yeah.
Right? Where does it
Don't I
go?
have bones in there?
Yeah,
and stuff?
exactly.
I don't
always
ever
thought the same
get it.
thing. I'm pretty sure they hit every
Yeah.
bone.
But anyway, they so that was it. I was done till next spring. I could still feel it in spring training, and Chuck, smarter than you think, he noticed.
Oh,
too.
we
He
believe
goes,
me. We know.
we can
Chuck was
see that you're
very
still
smart.
not right. So he goes, you're going to have to go down to
Triple A.
Hawaii and pitch, and
What a
prove
tough
Yeah, yeah.
draw that
and
is.
prove that you're healthy, and we'll bring you back. So I went down to Hawaii and pitched great again. And, I think that might have been another ERA year for me, that second year.
In the PCL again?
Yeah.
That's
Pitching
like
up-
hitting on like as a hitter. That's like playing on the moon.
You know how I don't keep a lot of memorabilia?
Yeah, I'm very well aware of that. Yeah.
There's somewhere at my house, I cut out the Sunday stats, team stats of the Hawaii Islanders, out of the Honolulu Gazette or whatever they called it.
Jeez.
And I kept them because it's well into the year now. It's like June. And I'm leading our team in ERA. I'm also leading the team in batting average.
Come on.
I'm hitting
Oh.
like 360 or something like that.
Did you keep that clipping anywhere?
Yeah, I still have it somewhere. I don't know where
You got to
it
keep
is.
that.
I know. We got to bring that in next
and,
time.
and also I had 3 stolen bases at that point.
Come on.
Again, thanks to Tommy Sand.
Wow.
Tommy Sant was the
Did you
manager
send
of the
that
Hawaii
back to your
Islanders.
community college coach?
No,
You should have.
I made a deal with Tommy. Do you remember they had these T-shirts they gave the minor leaguers if they stole 20 bases? They got a T-shirt that said "Running Bucks." Well, I stole third after Tommy got thrown out of the game during the meeting at home plate. So he was up in the press box during this, and actually he told me too he was going to get thrown out. He goes, "I don't want this to throw you off your game, but while you're walking in from the bullpen,
I'm going to get thrown out.
I'm going to be getting thrown out at the home plate." I said, "Okay, it's cool, no
Great
problem."
Tommy Sant.
So nobody was paying attention to me. They were trying to bunt me over from second base to third with like nobody out. And they put a wheel play on. Pitcher threw a ball, took it. But shortstop went to third on the wheel play. Third baseman charged home. And ball one. So now what happens? Shortstop starts walking back to his position. The third baseman stops and looks in their dugout to see the signs of if the wheel play's still on. So I'm watching this. There's
Paying
nobody
no
at
attention
third.
to you.
So I
You just walk into third.
I kind of jogged pretty quickly over to third base. And so Tommy is up in the stands and he's like going crazy up there. He goes, "I saw it." He told me after the game. He goes, "I knew you were going to do it. I'm looking down. I see it." And I go, "He's going to run. He's going to go." And sure enough, he goes, "You went." So then, because I did that, I go, I kind of know what's going on out there on the bases. I go, I'm just a pitcher. But I got a good feel when I'm not being paid attention to because I'm a pitcher. I go, if you let me run, I go, I can steal bases. And so and he said, "Okay." He goes, "You get the green light. You can run whenever you want."
That's awesome.
And so I stole 2 more bases, legitimate, first to second, because they don't hold on pitchers. They play behind pitchers.
Yeah.
So, and then after I stole 3 bases, I said, "I want one of those T-shirts." And he goes, "Well, you got
three's like 20.
He goes, "You got to steal
Let's be
20."
honest.
And he goes, and I said, "I can't steal. When am I going to? I'm not going to have 20 more starts." So he made a deal with me. He says, "If you steal 5, I'll get you one of them T-shirts." But then I got called to the big leagues. I didn't get any more steals.
Oh, wow. Oh, my gosh.
You would have
that's
gotten it.
So I
believe
missed
it.
out. I'd still have that T-shirt if I wanted one of
It
those.
would have been
bad.
right next to that clipping you had.
Now I'm slow as a snail.
I was wondering if you were looking up to Tommy up in the press box after you'd stolen third base. Because I know there was a time you looked up to the press box.
That's
That's
Spanky.
one of my favorite stories.
All right, here we go. I'll tell this one too.
Oh, this is great.
Rex Hudler, for the Expos at the time, he slid into home plate, took out Spanky's knee. Spanky's done for the season. So one day before a game, I'm pitching, and he's like, "Hey, I'm going to be up in the stand or up in the press box today." He goes, "If you wonder what you should throw, look up there." He goes, "I'll tell you." Because we're always arguing about, because I'm always shaking no. Catchers don't know
Spanky's
anything.
the best.
Catchers don't know anything. So he's trying to get
Fair
a little.
enough.
He's trying to give a little dig at me. So later on in the game, Joe Carter's up, and I throw him a bad hanging curveball, belt high, and he hits it into the upper deck at Three River Stadium, but about 10-foot foul, it way back into the upper deck. And I'm like, now what am I going to throw him? I go, "He just crushed that curveball. I know he can smoke my fastball. What am I going to do?" And then I remember our conversation with Spanky. So I look up to see if I can find him. And here he
And
is.
of course you find
He's
him.
easy to find because he's hanging over the ledge. And he's
Begging
going like,
for you to
and he's
see
going
him.
like this.
Curveball. Curve.
Okay. So I'm like, okay. He knows if I throw 2 in a row, good chance the second curveball is going to be a good one, not another hanger. I throw him a really good one down about ankle high. He swings right over the top of it for strike 3. I look up and tip my hat to him.
Yeah. He's probably had a couple coffees.
Probably had a coffee.
A couple coffees.
Yeah, I was just thinking,
That's outstanding.
how cool would it be to have that? Why is it that in football you can have all these coordinators and all these coaches up in the press box? Why not a manager or coach up in the press box?
Well, Chuck Tanner tried that in Atlanta.
What happened?
He had Tony Barterone up there. He was the eye in the. They called him the eye in the sky. He sat up there. Back then, the two-way community he had a talkie, the size of a loaf of bread, with a stick out of it, and he would talk into it, like talk about where he saw like the outfielders playing.
Yeah.
Well, we need to move the center field over and stuff down to that thing. That's the only I've ever heard of anybody doing something like that.
I've heard of a couple teams. They call it the 10,000 foot view.
Yeah.
They have guys, whether it's the broadcasters or somebody, but they write a report. They come down after the game, kind of give their 2 cents on what they've seen. I've also heard first and third, because they get a different look and they could see it in the stands.
Well, I hear everybody always says it looks easier from up there.
Well, the game's so much slower from up there. You just
what was your
see everything.
Until that first pop up.
What were your reactions?
So
what were your reactions, Bob and Michael, the first time you were up in the broadcast booth after playing all those years? Did it look weird? Do you remember that?
No, I don't think
really.
It looked weird.
Certainly different.
Yeah.
After all those years on the field, and all of a sudden you're up there, right?
Yeah.
And it does. You say it looks slower.
Looks slower because you can when you're down there, especially in the infield, on an AstroTurf field, everything's happening fast.
Yeah.
Very fast game.
Mm-hmm.
And when you got up there, it looks easier because it looks like it's a slower game. It's like, I think, like an NFL football player would probably say this more than anybody, because it must be unbelievable chaos at the snap of that football. Yeah. Everything is happening at once. There's no time to think about anything. It's like, but now you're watching it on TV and you're going, "What's he doing?" But it can't. It's not like that. I'm sure when
you're getting hit by cars.
Baseball's a little similar, not nearly like that, but it's still the same thing. Especially when you're watching a center field camera, the pitch is going in. Let's go to the ball, and there it is. Oh, they can hit that. There he is. They get that. That ball gets from your hand to the catcher's glove in 0.4 of a second. Okay, you got to decide to swing before that ball is halfway there. So you got 0.2 of a second to say swing or don't.
You wonder what they say.
I don't know.
Hard,
it's
right?
got to be impossible to hit. It's impossible to hit.
It's crazy.
Impossible to hit.
Yeah, so true.
As a pitcher, when you're up there hitting, I made up my mind whether to swing or not swing when the pitcher was looking for the sign. That's when I'm going to swing at this one. Because that's the only way. I couldn't sit there and look and see the ball and say, oh, yeah, I'm going to swing that. No, it's way too fast. Doesn't look like that on TV, but when you're standing there in that box, there's no way. Guys, I've heard a hitter say, oh, it's like the shadows and this. I can't see the spin on the ball. Who's looking at the spin of the ball? I can't see the ball hardly.
When you went back out on the mound, you had to think about that, right? No, you thought about everything else. So often we forget, when we're on the other side, how hard it really is.
I've had guys come in and tell me, hey, we can't see when we're up there. It's like a 4:00 game. We got the shadows, can't see. He goes, just go right after these guys. And I'm sitting there going, I'll just pump fastballs into these guys. I'll be out here for 4 hitters. There's no way.
Yeah. Did you ever try it?
I went through one inning in my life throwing nothing but fastballs.
I felt like with the shadows, you couldn't see spin. So if you throw me a heater, I feel like that's giving me a favor. I remember them saying that in Milwaukee.
Maybe. Well, I don't know.
And then Ryan Braun hit a ball in the second deck, and I was like, well, he seems to be able to see it. I know he had those big old eyes, but he seemed to be able to see it just fine.
I love it when I'm up there in the booth and I'm saying, oh, look at the shadows are coming in. Guys won't be able to hit C. And it's like 8-5 in the 5th inning. I mean, everybody's seeing the ball really well.
Yeah, now they wear the glasses, too. I don't know how they do that. It's mind-boggling. You know what boggled my mind being up in the booth? Kind of what you were saying with Tanner is I literally was sitting there was like, why did I not bunt more? And why did I not steal bases? Because you see the positioning, especially as the shift came in and all the weird positioning came in with analytics. I was like, I could have walked to third base.
See, I'm the opposite. I see guys throwing balls this far off the plate away, and they're getting called balls, and I'm going, well, I couldn't pitch in this league because I need that plate. I want that plate as wide as this table.
When did that,
Now,
when did that
this
change?
is okay. Now this is the truth. I'm making jokes, but this is not a joke. Some umpires, and especially with some pitchers, the plate probably was as wide, but the strike zone is only about this tall. Nowadays, it's gone like this.
Yeah.
The strike zone is not nearly as wide as it used to be, but you can throw a ball at the catcher's forehead and have it called a strike.
Yep.
That was a foot high, back in the day. So I think it's a lot easier for me. It's a lot easier to pitch with a wide plate and a little short strike zone. I would much rather have that. Maybe that's because of what I was used to.
No. I'm telling you right now, it's way harder to cover, east to west than it is north to south.
But it is. I will say this: when you turn the strike zone up and it's like a lot taller than it is wide, that high fastball, that's a game changer because they used to just ball. Now you got to swing at it.
Listen, it looked like Skittles to me.
You got to
Walkie.
You
I'd
have to
swing at it every time.
You got to swing at it.
Yeah.
You could take that; it was a ball, but not now. It's strike one, strike two, strike three. You got to do something about it.
Yeah.
That's why I've always said about pitching inside is not trying to throw at people. It's throwing strikes right on that inside corner. Now it's harder to do now because it's not as wide. But if you're throwing strikes on the inside corner, that changes what the hitter needs to do
Everything.
now. He can't just sit there. He can't say, okay, I'm not going to jam myself. I'm just going to take that pitch. Well, if you take it, it's 0-1, 0-2. So you have to change your approach in order to hit, in order to get the fat part of the bat out there to hit that inside pitch. And if you do that, if you make that change, and the catcher and I can see that you've made that change, now we're going out there.
Yep.
And now the head of the bat is out here, but the pitch is out there, and it's going slower.
Yeah, because it looks like it's 48 feet away from me because you've opened up that space inside.
I hate this term, old days, but we called that, and I don't hear anybody say this much more. I still use it a little bit. You speed up the bat.
No doubt.
It's a bad term because the bat's not going any faster or slower, but they're going to swing earlier to be able to hit that inside pitch. And once you speed up the bat, then you can go to the slow stuff.
You know what you did to me? If you did that to me, you sped up my mind. It's not my bat, right? I'm already quick. If you can get me to either swing at it or take it, and I make a move, and you're like, I think he's thinking about it. That ball away, even if it's on the black or even the outer third, it looks like it's so far away, especially if you throw it down and away. I think that's the best pitch of baseball. I don't think it's thrown enough. It's down and away.
And if you can hit strikes out there,
it's a game
that
changer.
is slowing down the bat.
No doubt.
Because now the guys are having to wait to make good, solid head of the bat contact at pitches away from them and slower pitches. And now you can live inside.
All right, I have a question. I've asked this to.
This is simple.
It's simplicity,
but it works. It does work.
You've watched 30 years of baseball with the Pirates. You've watched probably close to 30 years of baseball, period. How many fastballs down and away, knee high, have you seen leave the yard? Handful?
Some, yeah.
Yeah, it's not many. You may see a breaking ball, guy gets out.
But when that
flips
happens,
it.
when that happens, that tells you right away he has no respect for your inside fastball.
Correct. But that pitch, even if you know it's coming, I mean, Tom Glavine, Greg Maddux, guys lived out there and they earned a little bit more plate. And that's what I miss about the game.
Yeah.
I know people love the automated strike zone, the thought of it, but I miss the chance to earn. If you're out there and you're just dotting up and that umpire's getting locked in and we're going an inch, inch and a half, 2 inches, I love that part of the game. I miss it.
When I got to the ballpark on the day I was pitching, way before I would look at the other team's lineup,
Look at the umpire.
I wanted to see who's behind the plate.
I love it.
Because that would have a little bit of a I would kind of know a little bit about how my day's going to go.
Yeah.
By who was the umpire?
Was there guys that liked you and didn't like you?
Yeah, there's guys that like me. There's guys that don't like me. There's guys that are pitchers umpires. There's guys that are hitters umpires. Hitters umpires, they called the strike zone a little smaller. Pitchers umpires, they called it a little wider. And you just kind of knew what was going to happen.
Have you ever heard about my first start? Did we talk about that? So my first start, Jeff Suppan. He's 14, 15 years in. We're in St. Louis. I've played maybe in 3 games, had a couple of bats. It's my first time in the big leagues. I get to start. I'm hitting 3-hole. Jeff Supon's on the mound, pumping about 83. He has a 48-inch plate, I swear. He throws 7 innings and scoreless. He's really, really good. I struck out 4 times that day.
Oh, yeah,
there was no chance. And the umpire told me, it's like, this is his day. It's his last game in the big leagues.
That's right.
You better be swinging. And I swung at everything I could until I just physically was like, no way. No way he's called strike 3.
Yeah.
Strike there. Struck out looking 3 times against Supon. They brought in a reliever, and I swung at everything he threw. If he would have thrown the rosin bag walkie, I would have swung at it. Because same thing. You got to understand who the umpire is. Now they get the scouting report, which is wild to me because that was actually illegal when I was playing. You couldn't get that report. Now they get it. But, yeah, you used to have notes and understand and kind of butter them up, try to get more. Oh, yeah, great job staying with that right there.
The National League was, 12 teams? And so, and the National League umpires were the National League umpires. You were on first name basis and knew every one of them really well. You didn't need to take notes. You knew exactly who was back there. Yeah. Exactly what was happening. I used to love Frank Pulley. Not because Frank, had a real big strike zone or anything like that, but he was a guy that didn't want you barking at him. He didn't like that at all. And that if he missed a pitch, you got the ball back, and you didn't say anything to him. He knew that, okay, he knew. He goes, I probably missed one there.
Most of the time.
He goes, and he didn't get the ball back and stare at me or go like, where was that or anything like that. So as long as I don't react, he'll probably give me one later on.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I see a hitter turn and look at him and say something, inside I'm laughing.
Heck, there goes my plate. It just widened up.
Yeah, you just made my day a little easier.
Yeah.
Milt May had a great story with Frank. As I love Frank, Milt didn't care for him because he was behind the plate one day, and he said something to Frank about, you're missing pitches, or my guys don't better than that.
Milt's catching this. Yeah.
And so he said, I'm behind the plate. He goes, the next pitch is just right down there. I mean, just boom, perfect right there. And he goes, Frank gets down, bends over, gets in my ear, and goes, ball. He goes, we do it again. It's a perfect strike. Frank bends down and goes, ball 2. That's why I love Frank.
Oh, that's outstanding.
Those days are gone.
I'll never forget. I was a young buck, and Joe West. Somebody turned around and just starts laying into him. I know exactly who it was, Matt Kemp, and he goes, just get it anywhere.
Oh yeah,
anywhere outside.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was a 1.5 foot outside. Kemp started to go, didn't go, rang him up, tossed him. I was like, that was awesome. He was like, yeah, you don't talk to me like that, son.
Yeah, that's old school umpire.
That's old school. Yeah, he almost threw me out of the game because of the way I took care of my glove. I'll never forget it. I always put shaving cream in my glove before the game. Domit did it. And it did make my glove tacky, and it helped my pitchers. Not going to lie.
Put a lot of shaving cream in my glove. And
it's brilliant. Yeah. As it gets
you know what was really good for the glove, too? It's good for the leather.
Yeah.
The leather pine tar.
Oh.
It was really good for the
it was
leather.
absolutely
Yes.
You know where I used to put that? I used to put that right on my shin guard.
Yeah.
And I used to absolutely hit it and throw it back.
Yadier Molina, like,
you remember a couple years ago?
Remember
A couple years ago, it was like this big deal. Like, well, guys are using sticky stuff. They're like spinning the ball, and I'm like,
hello.
Yeah, for 100 years they've been doing that.
Yeah, but the problem is I remember my first pitching coach in the minor leagues was throwing me BP and he was throwing me spitballs, and I caught Manny Corpus, and he had baby oil in his hair. They're talking about sticky stuff. These guys are throwing things that are going like this with like stuff that makes it slippery.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, sticky stuff. It's the other stuff that's ridiculous. Yeah. The hair gel.
Well,
all
here's
that
the
stuff.
thing. With sticky stuff, you're throwing conventional pitches.
Right.
You're throwing fastballs, sliders, curveballs.
It gives you a better grip.
You just get better grip. The hitters are up there getting a better grip on the bat. They got like space age tape. They got these gloves with
they got the spray now.
Sticky stuff on it.
Yep.
They got spray. They got pine. They got everything in the world. You can like put your hand on a bat like this and pick it up.
Absolutely.
And I can't have a touch of invisible something right here just so the ball's not slipping off my fingers.
Yeah, you can't even have sunscreen right now. Yeah, they get mad at that too. My favorite's Max Scherzer this year. Guy, this is just too much. Just shows how uneducated some of these guys are. The guy tells him to wash his hands with alcohol. Have you ever done that? After you put rosin on your hand, you put alcohol on your hand.
Yeah.
You literally
Cakes
cannot
on.
let go of anything. It's like, so he goes back out and he's pitching, and I'm sure you can hear. I mean, guys used to use that all the time. They'd be like alcohol all over their jersey. They put that rosin on, and it'd just be stuck, like literal tar. And the guy told him to do that, and then he gets suspended. I
Yeah.
thought it was crazy to me.
Well,
Crazy.
the spitball or slippery stuff, that's an illegal pitch.
I don't even know how you do that.
That's an illegal pitch.
Have you ever tried?
Yeah.
I'm sure you have. I don't get it. Like
I
I've
threw
tried.
I threw one in my life just to see what would happen. Nothing happened. Spanky again laughed at me.
Did you get it 60 feet?
Yeah.
That's the most. Yeah. So they lather it up,
Yeah.
and when they get here, they pull back, and it kind of spits out and has all kinds of funky
Well,
movement.
see, now you can
I don't know how you do
lick your fingers on the mound and all this kind of stuff. You had to leave the surface of the mound. You had to be on the grass to go to your mouth. So I had this idea that it was in Veterans Stadium. I would walk up to the front of the grass to get the pitch back. And as I was getting the ball back, I asked what the count was. Tried to throw a distraction out there.
Brilliant.
And as I was
Brilliant.
asking what the count was,
Negotiator again.
I go like
Yeah.
that. Well, what's the count? And then I got the ball back.
Did you get caught?
No, and then I walked back up to the mound. But then Spanky later on, he goes, I saw it.
Yeah.
He goes, when you shook to a fastball, I knew exactly what I was getting.
Oh my
Yeah. I
gosh.
almost once
That's
again Joe
hilarious.
West almost threw me out of game because he realized I kept bouncing the ball every chance I got, throwing around the horn down to second base for Jeff Karstens because he would actually use the scuff. He goes, if you bounce that ball one more time, you're done. I threw that ball well out into center field because I was terrified. But yeah, like guys don't even use scuffs anymore.
Yeah,
Like
well,
it's
Well, now they
almost like
can't. But they used to.
you can if you're scuffing them yourself.
Well, I'm
exactly.
saying
I
that-
used to scuff them
I'm
for
talking about
guys.
a ball in the dirt and stuff. They threw it out right away.
Well, but you
know what
notice
I mean?
the catchers do that a lot of times.
As soon as you get a ball out there,
You can
when
scuff
you're rubbing
yeah,
it up,
Yeah.
if you have a
Yeah, go ahead.
okay.
Go ahead. You have a nail. Yep.
okay, you take no, you don't have a nail.
I used to have a guy that would.
No, this
put a
is
slice
how
in
you
it.
do it. You get a sheet of, you go to the hardware store, you get a sheet of nice, fairly rough sandpaper,
Yeah.
like 150 grit. And you get one of them old-fashioned hole punchers, like for your notebook, you put 3 holes in.
Yeah.
Okay, you start punching out a whole bunch of holes.
So
for
you
the
got tiny little
sandpaper.
circles of sandpaper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you take them and you put just this little tiny dot of crazy glue on the edge of it. And you put it right here.
Glove hand.
Right here.
Which is
no, on your glove hand.
For
Yeah.
those
Yeah,
that
go
are
ahead.
listening
Right
on
there.
the podcast, you're pointing
Right
to
here.
the base of your pinky.
This is
Oh,
not
yeah.
sticky stuff.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Or
Yeah.
no,
No, you're putting it on the
Or the forefinger, rather. Yeah.
on the that would be the ball of your feet.
Yeah.
I guess would
yeah.
you call it the ball of your hand? I don't
Yeah.
know what the heck you call that.
We'll
anyway.
say that's what
Okay. Anyway, and then you go to rub up the ball, and there's 2 guys that did it a lot, and I could tell by looking at the scuff who did it. It was almost like a
Well,
signature.
you have concrete on your hand now.
I got that little tiny thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But it's only on one edge. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So you can either rub it like this, kind of up and down, and all your scuff marks go in a straight line. Or you can take it and spin it in a circle, rub it up, and now you got a little circular scuff. You put that scuff on the side of the ball when you're throwing it, and that slows the air down. It can't go over there as fast as the smooth side.
So what's the difference between?
So here's what happens. It slows down the airflow on that side, and it builds up a high pressure area.
Right.
So the air going by this is going a lot faster.
Right.
So there's low pressure on this ball.
Right.
So now you're just throwing a backspin fastball, but because of the pressure difference in the air on 2 different sides, the side that has the scuff, the ball is going to slowly move the other way.
Mm-hmm.
So you can throw if you throw your fastball at 95, now you got a 95 mile an hour cutter.
But what
You
about?
turn it the other way, and now you got a 95 mile an hour
Sinker.
sinker.
But what about the circle to the?
I don't think
smooth?
it did make any difference. As
Didn't?
long as you're
Okay.
disrupting the airflow over that smooth baseball,
Yeah.
that's
I always knew that
that's all
part. I never thought
all you
about
had to do.
the circle
Now,
to
here's
the
the
scuff.
thing. Now, people wonder, why are you only putting glue on the edge there? He said, well, when the umpire starts walking out after they
getting
They
suspicious.
they get-
Yeah, when you're throwing a 95 mile an hour cutter, yeah.
you just take your thumb
flick it off.
and you just flick it off into the dirt. Covered up with a little dirt.
I guess you never talked to Kevin Gross ever, did you?
Huh?
You never talked to Kevin, or not Kevin Gross. Who was the guy that was it? Necro, Joe Necro.
Joe.
I mean,
No, because that was legit. He's a now he got knuckleballers are constantly messing with their nails in the dugout. He had a emery
the
board.
file.
Because
yeah.
if you lose that nail,
What are you
don't
going to
have
do with
no
an emery
feel.
board on the mound? Timeout.
Yeah.
No, he carried an emery board in the thing to actually do his nails because he's a knuckleball pitcher. But emery board on that's like it's like having a cell phone in your pocket running the bases. It's the same kind of thing.
Who does that kind of thing?
So yeah, it doesn't
That's crazy.
Doesn't affect anything, but you shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
And so that's what happened with him.
I'm about to go down to Florida for fantasy camp. I'm gonna make sure to get all my guys some scuffed balls.
You know, I
Get that nasty stuff coming.
wrong. You don't put it on the ball. You put it on the low part of your finger.
Oh, okay.
That's where you put it. So, this was shown to me. I never actually did anything like that because I was afraid I'd get caught. I would take a little sticky stuff out there with me, but actually scuffing the ball up was.
You know who cheats
No,
more
when
than
I
anybody?
would get a scuff ball, which I
Yeah. Yeah.
would use it.
Well,
But I wouldn't say, "Oh, this ball is scuffed."
Yeah.
No, I want that ball scuffed so I can do so. I can make a move. But I was never bold enough to go out. But I pitched with some guys that did, and they showed me how you do it.
so the biggest cheaters are the guys catching. I would do anything my guy asked me to do, but I will never forget the day I'm in the big leagues, just with the Pirates, and a guy gets a scuff ball and is like, throws it back in, doesn't want it, and I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
The advantage you have, I'll never forget facing Belisario in L.A., and when his sinker was moving almost 2 feet, I'm just like, this is Nintendo. It's not right. Nobody'd look at the ball. I think because he was a veteran, but man, it's impossible.
Who was the catcher that we had that gave love advice?
Francisco Cervelli.
Mia Moore.
Yep.
He's
He gave love advice.
he's catching one day for us, and I get a phone call from my son Tommy in between innings, and he goes, "Did you see Cervelli do that? That was awesome." I'm going, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "The ball bounced in front of him. He blocked it, got the ball back from the umpire, a new ball, and he switched him and threw the one that bounced back out to the catcher
man.
and threw the new ball off."
That's awesome.
And I'm going, "No way, he didn't do that." So then I was on TV. I called down to the truck and I said, "Can I see like the pitch of?" Sure enough, he did that and he made that switch.
Oh.
And I'm thinking, well, I could work
That's
with this
good.
guy. I
That's
could work with
good.
this
Yeah.
guy.
Yes, you got to be
And
sly.
I asked him about that like the next day, and he goes, "Oh, it was like
Yeah,
broken
the
English.
accent, yeah.
You saw that?" Huh? And I go, "Yeah." I go, "Nobody else did." I go, "You were really sly."
My
I said,
son
"Actually,
saw it."
my son saw that
Yeah.
watching. I gave it a home."
Unbelievable.
That was
Yeah, when I was in Colorado, some of the infielders had stuff on them. So when we throw it around the diamond, they'd give a ball back. Umpire has nothing to do with it.
the most funniest thing I ever saw was when Yadier Molina blocked that ball,
Oh,
this
that's
chest protector,
Incredible.
and the ball
Stuck.
stuck. There's so much sticky stuff on
I don't
his
think
check
you understand
protector.
how hard that is to
It's impo-
actually happen.
I mean, it's like
almost impossible.
you could be covered in straight-on fly paper,
Yeah.
and that ball wouldn't have stuck.
fly paper.
But he's looking around for the ball, and then you go, "Oh, it's stuck to my."
right there.
It's like it's
It's
a
the first
Velcro,
place he
like
should
with
have looked.
Velcro. He rips it off his chest protector, and everybody in the ballpark knows what's going on, but nobody says anything.
Do you know if he threw that ball back?
I
Did he
don't
throw
know.
back into play?
My guess
I
is
don't-
no.
I would say no.
I want to look back. I'm going to look back and see. I bet he did.
He might have tried to. It's hard
How
to
about
believe.
nobody? This is what I do know, which amazes me. Is nobody made him change his chest protector.
Right.
Trust me, I know. Well, if you ever watch a lot of those guys, him and Maldonado were notorious for it. They would reach down and reach behind their shin guard, and they had just a glob of pine tar. They throw that ball back. You could hear it on deck. And they never, ever got in trouble, never got caught. It was wild.
Speaking of rules,
Rules.
couple things about rules. New rules. No.
New
yeah,
rule,
yeah,
yeah.
new rules.
Okay.
2024.
18 seconds.
Yeah. He and I talked a little bit about it, but so they're going to go with a runner at first base They're dropped from 20 to 18 seconds now for pitchers. Fort's not happy about it.
No,
They found that by the end of the year, pitchers were delivering the pitch was still with 7 seconds left on that clock. So they're trying to find a way, because I guess the game's increased by, I think, almost 7 minutes by the end of the year, if I'm not mistaken. Even though when all was said and done, they cut back 24 minutes.
Well, you know what happened? Remember the first couple months of the season, people were running wild.
Yeah.
And I think the pitchers started holding the ball longer and longer and longer and longer.
Agreed.
To stop that. So the guys would take their lead and they would get fidgety. And even though you can only throw over there one time, some guys were actually getting picked off because they were holding the ball for so long. I don't know. I mean, this is just, I don't know, 2 seconds. Is it going to make a difference? I don't know. But I think that, because they wanted more running in the game.
Yeah.
And they got it early, and I think they were happy with that. But then it went away. I think they're trying to, because the pitchers figured out, okay, we'll just sit here and hold the ball.
Yeah.
And I got time. The clock's right there. I can see it.
Yeah.
So I think that might have been the reasoning that they have, that they're, I mean, it worked. Games are
Absolutely
back where they should be. So I don't think this has anything to do with time of game. I think it's to help the running game.
That's
my take on it.
The wisdom. That's wisdom right there. Well, I feel like MLB always wants to be like, ooh, we did something good. Let's do more, instead of like letting it play out. But that's a really good point. I didn't even process that part of it.
But you're still not happy with it.
The injuries bother me. It's the injuries that bother me. There's enough research, there's enough studies, and the injuries keep going the wrong direction. And we have so much information. It's overwhelming. These guys get just thrown all this crap when it comes to data and analytics. Why are the injuries not going the other way? I mean, he's talking about I pitched 8 innings.
Why does the pitch clock have anything to do with that?
Because they're not training that way. They're training like Ferraris and
I mean, we had 2.5 hour games forever, and nobody got hurt.
Right.
Now you're having.
But if you ever watched, you've seen their bullpens. Right? I mean, everything they
that
do
has nothing
is
to do
full.
with it. That has nothing to do with the game time clock.
Right. But when they're going full throttle all the time, there's been enough studies out that they start to, when they lose their mechanics, they don't get back as fast. And that's really what it is. It has nothing really more to do than that. And these guys still don't train for it because they're training for that high velocity instead of being like you. Like you said that first round.
I could throw hard.
Yeah, but I'm just. But
until,
you know how to
until
pitch.
1984, he could really throw hard.
Right, 84, and then he pitched 8 more years after he hurt his elbow. Right, AJ Burnett's best year is after he tore his UCL. I think guys aren't learning how to pitch and how to use that clock to their advantage. I'm a big believer in go faster. I think it's always harder if I'm hitting. If a guy speeds me up, I try to slow the game down.
Yeah.
So
Work
I'm
fast,
with you
change
last
speeds.
year. You said it's a hitter's
No
clock.
strikes.
It's a hitter's clock. The hitter's the problem.
Yeah.
Pitcher isn't. These guys just aren't training that way. And I don't know if they don't realize it or what it is, but it's optimal recovery. Deep breaths. Gurus telling them, gotta slow the game down. No, like speed them up. That's slowing the game down for you. Speed them up. But they're not doing that, and injuries just keep going and going and going. And part of it's because the way they train, part of it's the way they throw their bullpens. There's no touch and feels. I'll never forget Rich Hill saying that. I mean, you remember we used to do that, Walkie? You'd go out and just feel that breaking ball, feel the changeup. That's it, right? These guys go out and they're chasing pitch design. They're chasing better bite on the breaking ball. In July.
I don't know if they do that at all times. I got to believe that there's some starters that go out there, because I mean I would go to the bullpen for my bullpen day. And there was times where I'm like, I'm going to play catch out here today, Ray. And he goes, yeah, that's fine. He goes, yeah, you need to take an easy day.
Yeah.
There was a pitching coach, Ray Miller.
I'd play catch for 10 minutes, and Ray would say, that's fine.
Yeah, that's the way it should be. Some guys need it, some guys don't. I played with guys that threw bullpens. They took a day off, and then they're on the mound that third day, fourth day, right up to when they start. So they're actually throwing, 3 times on the mound and then pitching on that last day. So they're really on the mound 4 times. They're down the slope constantly. So I just think it's
a guy that you guys could can I suggest a guest?
Yes.
You can, sure.
Oscar Marine.
Oh, yeah, we're definitely going to get Oscar.
Yeah, wow,
and these would be great.
Yeah.
It's a great subject for him because he's got to balance this, because the new data and all this stuff. It's tools. and they're valuable tools.
They are.
But he's the guy that's in charge of balancing.
Right.
Yes.
How much of this you use, how much of it, reading the pictures and knowing, okay, we got to back off a little bit on this guy. And there's days where you're feeling good, you go down to that, and you actually, you're like, okay, instead of saying I'm going to just play catch today, no, I want to work on some stuff. I'm going game speed.
Yeah,
I'm going to get the adrenaline going, and we're going to go.
Absolutely.
There's those kind of workouts in that bullpen too, and I think there's a place for those.
No doubt.
It's a balance. It really is.
It is, and I think the balance is starting to shift back, like we talked about off camera, and I think the starting pitcher is going to change back to guys that can, really pour in some innings. The inning eaters are really important. We signed a couple of them, but I think it's been dead for a while. They've been training guys to go out and blow out and move on. Yeah,
Anyway.
get it going.
Ford, you said you've seen bullpens. You demonstrated. You threw a pitch and looked back.
Yeah.
For those who are listening, explain that.
Yeah.
What do you see
everything is
bullpens
tracked.
now?
Everything that
Because they're looking back to see the data after each pitch.
right. So if you go to spring training this year, you're going to see on the backside, you're going to see TVs on the backside. You're going to see a clock because now they have to keep up with that. You turn around, you're going to see whether it's FlightScope or TrackMan or Rapsoda data right behind them.
Yeah.
And then some of these guys even play catch with the ball that actually keeps up with everything.
Can we see the video screens that they have here on the camera?
No.
Yes.
No, you can't.
Okay.
No.
The video screens that they have
Yeah.
are as big as what I have in my living room.
Right?
They're
Oh,
amazing.
yeah.
They're
I mean,
amazing.
It's like you can look, and there's like 3 or 4 of them, and you got all the data, but you have the video too. You got the tools that they have now to the feedback is just incredible.
Yep, and they're doing this in December. Like, I'm about to go to Florida. They have a major league camp and a minor league camp, and they'll have different things. Some guys are down there working on strength. Some guys are down there working on pitch design. And when you go in and pitch design, you have to throw it 80, 85, 90% to actually feel that and see if the data is matching, to see if that shape is happening. It's remarkable what you can do, but guys haven't been built up for it. They have to really understand the way their body moves. I mean, great example is Oviedo with last year. Like, he's pitching hurt, doesn't know it because the numbers are still really good, and he finished seasons because he's a strong dude. He's an ox, and he's out there. He's like, I'm going to compete. I'm going to do everything I can. Old school approach. But I think he pulled back from that instead of being that guy. It's like, oh, you can't throw this fastball, can't do this.
Guys are going to get hurt.
I agree.
I don't think there has to be a reason every time somebody gets hurt. For me, I don't think that's new school or old school, Bob, in my opinion. Guys are going to get hurt. I don't think Oviedo got hurt. Bob Watt got hurt. People get hurt.
Pitch count. You told me a number. What was the number you
183 pitches.
183 pitches. We will
in
not
one
see
game,
that.
Bob walked through 183 pitches.
Yeah. And how do you know what a threshold is? Like, that's a great example.
Well, and he and I have talked about this on the air, so
Yeah,
not
so
disclose.
it's
But someone decided along the way, 100 is the magical mark.
Well, no,
it's the
like
red
90
line.
now.
It's 90
It's
now.
90. Well, I'm saying back, it was 100 for a long
100.
time. But why wasn't it 90 then? Why wasn't it 103?
Well,
why wasn't it 98?
I can answer you the 100 thing.
I'd love to hear it.
Because they always kept pitch count numbers. You had a pitching chart you kept.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it wasn't on the scoreboard or anything, but it was a pitching chart somebody was keeping. And a lot of pitching coaches had like this cutter right here.
Yeah,
They had
clicker.
the little things that you
Count.
count.
Click.
They would click every pitch. And when I was on the pitching chart, once every few games, a manager or a pitching coach would come back and say, how many has he got? And you'd tell them how many pitches, because they have a feel that, like, it looks like he's dropping his arm or something. Maybe his pitches are getting up there. And historically, when he was getting near 100 or 100, that's when they would start getting a little, like, if they came and said, how many has he got? And I'd say, hey, he's got 108. And I could see the look on their faces. They're thinking, he might be getting to the end. And it was like, anytime you said 100, they felt like we got to start paying attention to it.
Somebody set that number at 100 at
Well,
some
because it's
point.
like a nice number.
Right.
I know, but that's my point. And by the way, you said forever. No, not forever. In your time, yeah, but
Okay.
30
how
years
about-
before you pitched, they didn't have
Well,
that.
yeah, Cy Young
How many
was-
pitches
yeah.
throw in the bullpen prior to going to the game?
I don't know.
20? 25?
As a starter?
Yeah.
Well, as a starter, you're throwing a lot more than that.
Right.
But
Do they count warm-up pitches?
They do now.
But all out.
Do they count throws to first base?
I was probably throwing
throws?
a dozen pitches all out.
Doesn't all out. Key word. Go watch them today. Pitch one, they have the analytics going immediately, and it's 88, 91. I would watch guys in the minor leagues throw their bullpens. Most of the guys I caught would be 84, 85 that threw 95, 96 in their bullpens, feeling it out, really understand where their body is. I'm watching guys in the minor leagues throwing 88 to 95 in a bullpen. No adrenaline, nothing, because they're chasing what's behind them, because that's how they start training, and they start throwing bullpens months before they did in the past. Like the offseason, like you went and painted, right, during the strike, and then came back. You probably didn't throw a bunch. You didn't throw off the mound, but you played catch. These guys are on the mound, developing, spinning. They don't go out and just fill out a changeup at 90 feet back in the day. I remember going out with Will Harris. He had a natural tilt to his hand. And I was like, dude, you have a cutter. Let's throw the cutter. We went out and threw 115 balls probably one day. We got in a lot of trouble. But he came back, and that's ultimately one of the reasons he got to big leagues. He got a feel of what was natural. They were trying so hard. His arm was hurting. He was first forcing something that didn't exist for him. He could not get here. He was born like this. And, man, it was a game changer for him. He threw a natural fastball and went, voop, every time. And they tried so hard to get it to go away. And I just talked to Stephen Broad about it. He said he changed the way he threw. Everything got better analytically, but he tore his arm to pieces, and that's why he's not pitching anymore. And I think there's good and bad to it. I think you have to really understand, what are you trying to do? And I think competing, Joaquin, you can correct me if I'm wrong, has really died. Development has become a lead, especially in the minor leagues.
I don't know. I can't say that because I'm so far from it.
But you're watching the games.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm watching the game, but I don't know what. I see the result, but I don't know what got you to that point.
But you can
I'm not there. I don't know.
But you can see a game and a guy's fastball is just completely lost, and he keeps chasing the same scouting report instead of saying, you know what, maybe I need to throw a breaking ball in the outer third, maybe even in the other batter's box 5 or 6 times to try to get that feel.
Well, I will say this. If your whole life you've been, throwing the ball 98, sitting at 96, and now you're throwing 94, sitting at 92, you're going to have to change the way you pitch.
Correct.
Similar to, remember we were talking about when I hurt my arm before and after.
Right.
That's what it is. You got to make an adjustment because you don't have that top flight fastball that you were using to get yourself out of problems, or you were using to get a big strikeout. That so you got to learn to do it a different way.
Right.
Or go home and get on with the rest of your career.
And that's kind of my point. It's like the adaptability of understanding how to pitch, because these guys are thoroughbreds. I mean, the way that they're training, they're getting big, they're getting strong, and they have elite fastballs. Mitch Keller, when he came back, moving great, throwing 100. What did it take him? 3-4 months to actually learn how to pitch and use his stuff, and he continued to develop. Can't wait to watch this guy pitch next year, because he's become a guy that can pitch at 92 or 99. And I think that's where the game's changed. Because I used to face guys like Kershaw. It didn't matter if he was throwing 95 or 88. The dude still came out and competed like crazy. I think that's a dying breed, but it's coming back. I'm very passionate about it because I watch it, and I love guys that compete. I would have died in the trenches for walking.
But, from an untrained eye, for me, guys, I think we want a pitcher to come out here and a dominating pitcher like a Mitch Keller, like you said, to come out there and pitch and learn. But it takes time. It takes time. And everybody's clock is different.
Yep.
Maybe some guy comes up and dominates right away in the big leagues. Maybe a guy, I think Bob's a great example of it. The old sage, Steve Blass, talked about all the time. But when he realized at a time, after a couple years, you know what? Find out if your stuff is good enough. Compete. Try and be the best. And then you learn how to pitch. You learn how to become a pitcher. And again, everybody's clock is different.
Correct.
So.
Correct. It's just with the analytics, they can measure the stuff against other stuff instead of the outs. Right? I miss the time when if you win and you have a 3 ERA, I don't care if you throw 82. You're winning. You have, those guys are a dying breed. They're starting to come back. I mean, what Zach Greinke's doing, what Kershaw's doing, what these guys can do for such an extended period of time is so different than what's being created now. Like I feel like Paul Skeens is a guy, if he's throwing 88, he's still going to go out and compete. He's going to figure out a way. Yeah. I think that's important.
Well, I hope we don't find that out.
Yeah, I don't want to find that out ever. But you know what I mean? Like you pitched. I love the fact that you said you pitched 8 years after you hurt your elbow. And some of the best stories I had were guys had some big injury and they had to do things different and they came back. Andrew McCutcheon is a guy that's learning himself in a whole new way because of all the injuries. And I think he's going to be better for it. I hope he's better on the field. But if not, he's going to be able to pour, into guys in a way he never could have if he didn't get hurt and understand himself, because that elite talent starts to fade and you have to do things a little different.
If you stay around long enough, you're forced to evolve.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah.
Greg Maddux wasn't always throwing the ball 85 mile an hour.
Right.
When he first came up with the Cubs, he was throwing the ball 95 miles an hour.
And nobody talks about that, by the way, with Maddux.
Yeah. Right.
Everybody always talks about Maddux being the guy that throws 85, but nobody talks about how hard he threw it.
He had a really good arm.
Right.
But he evolved as his arm, as his stuff changed, as he got older, he figured it out. And the main thing he figured out is I got to be able to throw the ball where I want to.
Yep.
And he always had really good finish on it. Even when he was not throwing the ball really hard, he'd always have like good bite to it at the end. You'd see guys constantly pounding the ball into the ground off.
It was deceptive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and some of the toughest guys, I remember facing Roy Halladay, and I'm like, I feel like I saw everything he threw, but it hit in the ground every time. Ground ball, ground ball, ground ball. It was remarkable. It's like he was just able to go, I'm just going to barely miss the barrel. I'm going to miss the barrel again. I think that's an art.
Bob, you come back this summer, be a guest?
Well, I could talk with him all day.
Yeah.
Both of you guys.
No, not bad. I work just down the street.
Okay. Oh, that's right, you do.
Will
Coming
he wear
for
the
his
same shirt
31st
for us?
year.
We wear the
I
same
hope
shirt?
so. It's his lucky
I
shirt.
promise I'll change shirts. Well, this is it's cold outside, right? It's a wintertime.
Well, we end our show all the time. We ask you to hold my cutter.
Yeah.
So
Bob, he kind of showed us last time.
Hold my cutter. Yeah.
You know what? They don't do this anymore, but they used to do this.
There we go. Now you're talking.
Yeah.
Look at that little mark you put on there.
Yeah, a little natural cutter. A little scuff cutter.
Yeah,
how about taking one of those out to the mound? But there you go. Look at that.
There we go.
That's a nice scuff.
Yeah.
Cutter.
Hold my cutter.